Sketch made this.
Hey everybody, xsketch back with more Tier in the X-Files, and today we are here with the list, just the ultimate list. It's the one you've been waiting for. Yes, it's tiering random characters from the show. Of course this is the one you've been waiting for. Okay, happy April Fool's Day! Basically, I found this list while looking for the tier lists for season 4 and 5. Back in September last year, I stumbled across this, and I'm pretty sure actually some people have been added, because I'm pretty sure it was a lot more bare bones when I originally found it. And I saw it, and it's got the most random characters with, like, Monster of the Week and, you know, Bambi Birnbaum and stuff like that. I was sat there just peeing myself laughing when I saw this. There was no, there's no Samantha Mulder, the character that the whole show goes around. There's no Gibson praise. To be fair, the show has a lot of recurring characters. But it also has some good Monsters of the Week, and obviously this is very focused on the Vancouver years, I guess. But yeah, I couldn't help but laugh, and I was like, I need to do this as a list at some point, and I just never got round to doing it. It's bad enough the issues that I've had with the season 4 tier list, and I'll get to the details about what's going on with that at the end of this video. But it's April Fool's. It was getting near April. It's getting near April Fool's as I record this, and I was like, I really need to do this. So yeah. And you know what? I thought, to be fair, it's got its merits. I'm not making fun of the person who compiled these characters together. I just thought it was hilarious, and I thought, you know what? I don't like pranks, and I could have made a video going, reasons why I hate the X-Files. The reason why the X-Files is the worst show ever. And I thought, actually, I might end up letting off some of my actual real life issues, which then people wouldn't take seriously because it was a April Fool's video. And I thought, you know what? This is a genuine video. I am genuinely going to talk about my thoughts on these characters. But it is just a silly throwaway video, so yeah, I just had to make it, basically. I'm waffling. But let's start out with the best character, clearly, of the whole show. Assistant director, later deputy director, Alvin Kirsch, played by James Pickens Jr. I think who's now probably more known for Grey's Anatomy and that. Okay, so how am I going to do this tiering? I think really the best thing is how well the characters are implemented, how well they're acted, just their purpose in the show, and I think there's a whole load of different aspects. Sometimes can be, contradictory to each other, especially with certain other characters that we'll get into. But Kirsch is an odd character to rank. He's brilliant played. I don't think James Pickens Jr. could have done any different with what he was given for this character, who is basically this smarmy, know-it-all, I hate everything grumpy sod. He's just there to sit and scowl at Mulder and Scully, because the problem is by the time Kirsch is inserted into the show, Skinner is really a friend and ally to Mulder and Scully. And, whereas he was there, working, he was being overlooked by Smoking Man at the start, he broke away from that and was then helping Mulder. He wasn't really opposing a lot of their cases. So they got to a point where they really needed somebody else to do that. So Kirsch is really there to oppose Mulder and Scully, to oppose the X-Files, and, to be somebody for them to work against, because they didn't have that anymore. As a result, and to be like, I'm never going to be your friend. I mean, we'll get to, we'll talk about the season, the truth at the end. But, yeah, he's really there to make it clear that he is not there to be a friend. He's not an ally to the X-Files. And as a result, I feel like they kind of went too far over. Like, he is super grumpy. He is super, the X-Files are stupid. They're a waste of money. And then when he gets Doggett involved, he charges Doggett with finding Mulder as the, task force leader to basically shut down the X-Files at any opportunity. That is really Kirsch's purpose in the show. And he has, after 2 hours, he has a redemptive moment where he helps Mulder escape the military brig in the series finale, The Truth. But that felt a little too underwhelming, a little too fake, too forced. He'd been working the whole time. And there are moments, I will say, in those episodes where you can see him having regrets about his choices as this puppet of the super soldiers, the consortium, whatever. But it does feel a little too rushed, unfortunately, because he has so little screen time. And that is the thing Kirsch does have. He's there, he gets assigned in season 6, the beginning. And yeah, he doesn't have the greatest screen time, I feel, sometimes. And I guess they do it to keep that elusive kind of, not a friend and stuff. But I don't know. I think he's a good character. I do feel like he's very one note and a little underdeveloped at times. And I don't know if it's just because I enjoy Pickens's depiction. I kind of want to put him in A. But if I'm honest, I don't think his screen time... There's no character development beyond that one note. And I think it's just as well Scully's brother, Bill Jr., isn't on this list, which again I feel is a missed opportunity, because I feel he's very like Kirsch in a way, where you're just like, he just hates Mulder and that's it, he just disapproves of Scully. I think as a result I'm going to put Kirsch on B, just because of his just lack of development. And yeah, I feel like I could have done more with him had they had more screen time. Next up, we have got Suzanne Medeski, played by Signe Coleman. Introduced, she's only in 2 episodes. Introduced in season 5's The Unusual Suspects, which is a flashback episode to the lone gunman coming together and meeting Mulder and stuff. And she is the impetus, basically. She is the reason how they all get connected. She's this army base employee who, is like, "Oh no, they're against the American people. Please help me." And she's lying to buyers. See, here's the thing. The whole thing is built upon her flirting with buyers, poor naive buyers, and sucking him in with her lies and trying to get his help to get information and stuff like that. And then later on, when she's because at the end of Unusual Suspects, she goes on, she disappears, and poor lonely Byers is just left like longingly wondering where she's gone. We catch up in season 6 with Three of a Kind, where Byers is going to these conventions and trying to find Medeski. And then they hook up, and it turns out he's been having these dreams of this perfect life where JFK lived, and Suzanne is his wife, and stuff like that. So it paints this picture that Byers has this amazing love for Suzanne. And, then she gives this tentative kiss to him and stuff. And in fan fiction, it's just gone rampant that, you know, they end up together and they have the greatest love and stuff like that. The problem is with the character herself is, again, there is a very... I guess it's just how TV works with its storytelling, but she's very one note. I mean, she's this blonde bimbo who talks in this very hushed breath, very much like Marita Covarrubias, because sexy femme fatale, don't you know? And it gets a little annoying. And she's like, oh, they're trying against the American people. Please help me, John. I'm a damsel in distress. And you're just like, okay. Now, she is better in Three of a Kind. I will not lie. And I like that she's there to bring these characters together. These well-established characters together. Especially then when we get the reveal of, say, X at the end, that he's involved with this whole chemical, you know, warfare project kind of thing. I don't know. It's not that Coleman doesn't well act her. It's kind of a recurring problem with women on this show and how they're treated. They're either just, I've said this before, they are either there to be the victim or to be this femme fatale to make... Now, actually, I will say, Medeski at least is not here to be somebody to make Scully jealous, because Scully isn't in this episode, because Unusual Suspects, I mean, she's in Three of a Kind. That episode feels like a makeup, actually. So, Unusual Suspects is at the start of season 5. It was made because David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson were still recording, were still filming scenes for the movie Fight the Future. Now, this is something we'll get into when I talk about The Unusual Suspect and, of course, Three of a Kind, where Scully is there and Mulder isn't. But it's nice that, as a result, Scully is not in this episode. Mulder is barely in this episode because it is a flashback to see him meeting them and stuff like that. But so Medeski is not used here as a way to make Scully jealous of Mulder. Unfortunately, that is a recurring theme. So Medeski does stand out as a result. But I don't know. I enjoy her. I wouldn't want her removed from the canon, but yeah, I just feel like she could have been. I feel sad as well. Even in the Lone Gunman TV series, I don't remember her ever coming up. So yeah, I feel like she was a character that was just like, she's here. This is what she does. She manipulates the characters. You know, she's this female that manipulates the characters, and then she's gone. And yeah, I feel like they could have done way more with her. I don't know if it was an issue with the actress or what, you know, scheduling wise, or it was just, you know, the gunmen were used when they were the main center of the episode. They were there, much like Skinner, to fill a void while Duchovny and Anderson were off doing whatever else, either taking a break or filming something else. So yeah, I don't know. Her impact on the show is, I think, is important for Byers' character, and of course what it does to bring them all together. Because he is so, like, against, like, Frohickey and Langley. The fact that he's so idealistic, bless him. So her importance into the changing of his character is vital. I think as a result, I might have put her in C. But because of her impact on the show, I'm going to put her in B. I don't really care much for her. And there's this bit where you're led to believe, in Three of a Kind, you're led to believe that Langley shot her or whatever. And you're supposed to care. And I'm like, oh, poor Byers. I'm like, I don't care about her. I just care about Byers. So, yeah, her impact on the show is important with who the character she brings together. But otherwise, I don't really care. It is fun that, because she was in an episode written by Vince Gilligan, she uses the name Holly as her cover name, which of course was Vince Gilligan's long-time girlfriend, and he always puts the name Holly in whatever he works on. So, but yeah, I'm gonna put her as I'm gonna put her in B. I just don't care enough. Next up, talking about, I will say I didn't order these characters. I'm just doing them as they were on the list when I booted up the tier list. So next up, speaking of, the important person to bring them all together, we have Frohickey, Melvin Frohickey, portrayed by the excellent Tom Braidwood, who was actually an assistant director on the show for the first 5 seasons of it. And when they were, the story goes that they were trying to cast Frohickey, and they couldn't find anybody, and they were looking, and they were like, and apparently he was walking by one day, and they were like, we need somebody, and somebody, whoever it was, I don't remember from the information who it was, but apparently they were like, we need somebody like Tom. That's how they, and sleazy, and I don't remember the description, but we need some sleazy little, like Tom, and that's how they ended up with Tom Braidwood as Frohickey. So as stories go, that is perfect. Which just goes to show as well where Morgan and Wong's heads were at when they created these characters. So Frohickey is a fascinating character, especially when you start delving into the depth of him in fan fiction. But Frohickey's a fun character because he comes across as this total sleazeball. He hits on Scully, it's all women, women, women and stuff like that. But actually, he has a heart of gold. And, you see this more, I think, in the Lone Gunman TV series. But yeah, I think Frohickey's one of those characters that is easily overlooked, but is actually really good and really. And again, I don't know if I've come away from that just because of how you read him in fan fiction, but I think it comes a long way. But actually, I think it does come a long way from just how much when they get more screen time and you see him in the Lone Gunman series and stuff like that. It's difficult to think of him on his own, though. I think when you think of, these three, they are a unit. They are a loyal, faithful unit. And I'm glad that Frohickey doesn't get killed at the end of Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man, even though that was the plan originally. But yeah, I think Frohickey is a good example of a character that comes across as one way, and especially, Byers is the normal looking one, and actually, he is the Frohickey is the one that you probably wouldn't trust if you bumped into him in a back alley or something, and yeah, he's actually a good guy and super loyal to Mulder. And Mulder and Scully, regardless of his intentions towards Scully. And I think you see that again in Three of a Kind, where Scully gets drugged with this toxin. And Frohickey comes across her, and immediately he doesn't take advantage of her or anything like that. He sees her being, not being herself. He thinks she's drunk. But he sees her being hit on, being surrounded by these skeezy guys that are trying to take advantage of her. And he's like, no. And I don't know, maybe he thinks, Mulder would kick his ass if, and I think, that's a recurring line in that episode, he knows Scully is not one to mess with. And I think that's, part of his respect for her is, yeah, you don't mess with Scully. So, but he respects Mulder as well, and he respects Scully, and he protects her and takes her away from that situation, but not in a creepy way. It's just very, no, okay, that's enough for you tonight, Scully, and takes her out of that situation. Doesn't make too much of a scene on that. He's just like, back off. She's a federal agent. So yeah, I really enjoy Frohickey. I think these three are all going to end up in the same row. Um, Easily well acted, and just enjoyable. Without a doubt, it's got to be S. I think, I don't know, maybe it would have been A had they not had the Lone Gunman series to develop those characters any further. But because they are secondary characters that are so integral and helpful to the show, and to Mulder and Scully's journey, especially when Mulder gets abducted, they are there without fail. I think, yeah, I mean, we got Frohickey, we then got Langley, played by Dean Hagland, very funny, nice guy. Definitely go check out his podcast that he does with awesome filmmaker Phil Lernis, Chill Pack Hollywood Hour. I think it might have actually changed its name recently. I'm a little behind. I need to do some catching up. If the name of the podcast has changed, I'll text it at the bottom, put it in text at the bottom. But yeah, very funny guy. He's a stand-up comedian. And as soon as the show ended, he cut all of his hair off because he was like, I'm done with that. Done with that. The fact that for the longest time he had to wear a shirt that said, I am not Garth, because people mistook him for Garth from Wayne's World. Langley is an odd character because I feel like, again, he's the one who's just there to, he's the D&D guy who throws insults at the others. I love the competitiveness between certainly Frohickey and Langley regarding their hacking skills. But I feel like, I often feel like Langley is the middle child. Like, so you've got the extreme of Frohickey, but then you've got the well-to-do, awkward buyers. And then you just got Langley, who's this, hippie, as I don't know, I just feel like Langley sometimes is, again, I guess much like Frohickey, is really misunderstood. As a result, I feel like they tried to, in the revival, when they had it turned out that Langley had this girlfriend and they had made this pact to become digital, they'd signed on for some, to become digital selves. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. Because, no, I mean, other than it was good for a story. And I guess, at the end of the day, we got Dean Hagland back. But yeah, it just, I don't know. I would have been more likely to believe that all the gunmen were in this digital heaven together than randomly he had this girlfriend that we never, ever got any indication of in the show, in the Lone Gunman series, or even, in the Jump the Shark, their final episode. So yeah, I feel like they tried adding more to Langley, but he never really has. I don't know, with Free of a Kind, I definitely felt they tried to add layers to Langley. But yeah, I just, and his line in Jump the Shark, where he's talking about the Ramones, and he's talking about Joey Ramone, and he's like, about not giving up and stuff like that. It shows the depth of, I can't remember the line, so that is not an episode I watch much. I'm trying to think of it and it's really touching when he's against Maurice Fletcher. It's a good scene, because again, it's showing Maurice Fletcher, played by Michael McKean, see, again, he's a character that could have been included here. You have this headbutting, of like this government guy, this secret ops guy who's like, you're a moron. And then you've got this free-spirited Langley who's just like, guys like that, they don't give up and stuff like that. And you see the real heart of him. And I wish we kind of had more of that. You see, it's when you see him on his own. Unfortunately, that is the problem when you have like this free-headed beast, if you will, of the lone gunman. The so, they don't get to have moments like that often. And of course, like I say, we get 2 episodes where the focus is on Byers' mission to, to save Suzanne and stuff. We never really get anything for Langley like that. So, brilliantly played on that. But I do feel, I think I'm going to put him in A. Because I just feel like he's undercut some. I don't feel... I'm going to put him... That sounds really silly, because I thought without question I would put him... I want to put all the gunmen together, that's the problem. This was only going to be an April Fool's video. I was going to take this so silly, but I'm thinking way too hard about this. This is how much I care about these characters. Well, most of these characters. Oh, go on. No, I don't think you haven't got the gunman without Langley. And easily, the same for Byers. I think the interesting thing for me with Byers, other than it's funny when, like, his version of disguise is to put some trousers and slacks on for when they turn up at Mulder's, pretending, to try and cover their identities. He dresses in the most casual clothes ever, because otherwise, if anybody saw him in a suit, they would know exactly who he is. I love Byers, played by Bruce Harwood. Yeah, just bless him. He's adorable. He is like a puppy. He's so naive, and you could see him. The fact that he's got this idealism, this the JFK vision and stuff like that. I think it's fun to then see him in this super paranoid group of geeks, and the fact that he's invested in their cause. Even though it goes against everything that in his head should be true, I think it says a lot about him. I don't really have... I haven't seen the Lone Gunman series for quite a while, and I've only seen it like twice. So I don't really have much to rely on regarding his involvement with episodes. It's always interesting to see him. I will say, to see him and Jimmy Bond... he was the only one who was really ever really nice to Jimmy. He was always trying to convince Jimmy to stay and stuff like that. I think having that softness, is really good. And it's fun to see him in Memento Mori, where he goes with Mulder to that facility. While Langley and Frohickey do the hacking stuff, because that's who they are. That's their job. Byers is like, I don't know what to do. And he goes along with Mulder. And then Mulder's like, I need you to go help Scully. And Byers trying to escape this facility without being noticed. He's got this trench coat on, this suit on. And he's like against the wall, super nervous. And you see that fear in him. And you're like, this is not the life for Byers. And yet he still persists. He still sticks with it. He still helps his friends. Without quit. Again, I think he's fortunate again that he's had these episodes that have seen him show his, his ideals and stuff like that more than necessarily the other two. And I do really wish we had more Lone Gunman TV series, to be honest, to show these characters off more. Let's put him in S, because it's the Three Stooges. It's the threesome, and they are important to the show, into and the characters and development and stuff. So yeah. Anyway, next up we have got Eugene Victor Toombs. Played by Doug Hutchison in season 1's Squeeze and season 1's Toombs. You would think that they would be a two-parter, but they are, but separated by about 15 episodes or something like that. Tombs is a good Monster of the Week episode. Squeeze is he's a good Monster of the Week, basically. Who steals people's livers. He has 5, and then he goes into hibernation for 30 years. I just think it's a really well created, the idea of seeing a ventilation shaft or some small, as somebody who's claustrophobic, just the idea of like squeezing through these small areas is creepy. But the idea that you could be in a secure room, especially when you see these things of people going in these panic rooms and stuff like that, it always makes me think of that the story in Creep Show. Stephen King's Creep Show, where you have the guy that's always he's in this sterile room, and all of a sudden all these flies or whatever it is come in, and he's like spraying them, and he runs out of, and then he just gets absolutely swarmed. There's this idea you could be in the most secure room, and there'll be like one hole, and this guy can squeeze through it. It's that you can be got anywhere. It's just creepy, and the effects that is used to, the forced perspectives and that of the hand down the chimney or something like that. It's really effectively used, and I think Doug Hutchison is suitably creepy as the character. He's well cast. Apparently, the story goes that in Tombs, the follow-up episode, when in the final scene where you have Tombs in the escalator vent where he's built his nest, Mulder goes in, and then he's like crawling away, and Tombs is right behind him, and apparently, instead of wearing something around his around his manly area, apparently Doug Hutchison insisted on being lubed up and, all the makeup and that on him, completely naked. So yes, there is a completely naked actor chasing David Duchovny through this cramped vent set. And apparently it made a number of people feel uncomfortable. That's an age-old story, and it's just, I don't think I mentioned it when I talked about Tombs, because somehow I managed to talk about 25 episodes in only an hour and a half, which is an X-File all on itself. I think because there were no real conspiracy myth-arc episodes. But anyway, yeah. Tombs, I think, is just, and I can understand why the person who made this template put Tombs on it, because he is such an iconic character. Does not talk much, and when he does, he's just like, and I think that would easily bring him down to A. I don't know. Because, you have the scene where he gets a lie detector test. And he just goes, yes, no, well, no. I don't know. And I don't necessarily feel like, speaking-wise, he's well acted. I'm not putting this against... Again, I just feel it's a scripting issue. And those episodes do look a bit dated at times. I don't know. I feel there's an element of the silence that makes Tombs more creepy. I think there's a lot that he does with just a look, and a lot of the lighting, and just the general cinematography. Let's go. Words are escaping me this evening. I don't know. I kind of want to put him in S, because he's just such a memorable. I'm going to put him in S. Because I do. I think he's just a really good Monster of the Week. And I think having the second episode helps develop that character and the creepiness even more. Much like our next character, Robert Patrick Modell, played by Robert Wisden, brilliantly so. And whereas you have a character like Toombs who is silent, and that can either be creepier or annoying, you have Modell who just does not shut up. And that's where a lot of his creepiness comes from, because he's so smarmy and so obviously, his voice is his tool, that he can manipulate people to push people. He's in, episode Pusher, and from season 3, and in season 5's Kitsunagari. And yeah, his tool is his power of power of suggestion. And as a result, you need an actor who can portray that really well, without going too far over, because you want that smarminess, but you don't want it, and you want that cockiness, but you don't want it to be over the top. And I think it's easy to do that, but Wisden does it, balances it really easily, especially at the end where you find out of Pusher, where you find out that he's got this tumor. He's just looking for a successor in that. Somebody who can outwit him. And he's fixated on Mulder. And then you have this Russian roulette scene, which I stand by is one of the best Russian roulette scenes that any film or TV show will ever have. And yeah, it's so intense. You feel bad for him on some level. He's got a depth there, that he's not just this evil guy. He's not this comedically bad guy. Ooh, look, I can manipulate you. He is a bad guy, but it's not a Disney style bad guy. I feel like he got a little shafted in Kitsunagari, in that he's not the main focus, and that's fine. But so he somehow manages to survive being in hospital, with his tumor and that should have killed him. He's been shot by Mulder. He had this tumor that should have killed him, and yet somehow he escapes relatively okay, doing relatively well, watching him. But then he ends up in hospital again. You're like, okay, because the story isn't him, it's his half-sister or whatever who's actually got this ability as well. So yeah, I feel like he gets shafted in that episode. And again, that'll be something to talk about when I talk about that episode. But I just feel consistently, even in that episode, I feel he is suitably well cast, and especially important in Mulder's development, with not only the case, but how he tries to present evidence to get Pusher put away, that then works against him and stuff like that. I think it's important to, I without question, again, much like Toombs, if anything, the reason why I paused when I was thinking about Toombs is because I was like, in comparison to Pusher, and that's the thing, because it's a very different kind of horror or drama, in that Toombs is gory and terrifying, whereas Pusher is very human. Like, he's not a monster that's taking people's he doesn't rely on killing people to eat, to survive. He's not taking livers to survive. That's not part of, he's not a mutant. He's a actual normal person. He looks normal, much like Donnie Faster, who unfortunately is not here. I think is a missed opportunity again. Pusher is just doing it for the fucking fun of it, and you're just like, okay, that's creepy, and that's more unsettling. Sometimes the more human characters that do bad stuff are a lot more terrifying than the mutants and stuff like that. So yeah, easily I would put him on S rank. Next up, we have Phoebe Green, played by Amanda Pays, only in one episode. If you read fan fiction, you'll discover people thought should have been in a lot more episodes. But she's not. She's in one episode. I think it's interesting that they didn't. Probably because Paige was doing other roles. That is probably why she was never brought back. I don't know. But considering she was supposed to have been this important person from Mulder's past, possibly his wife if you believe fanfiction, but certainly a lady love from Mulder's time at Oxford. And basically, she turns up in season 1's episode Fire to get her old friend Mulder to help with this arson case that has gone from Scotland Yard to America. And basically she's here to make Scully jealous. She is our first of many in the show. Women there to make Scully jealous. Brunette women there to make Scully jealous. Clearly Mulder definitely had a type at one point. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of. I've said this. I think I said this when I talked about the episode Fire. In that, like, even Mark Sheppard, who does talk like that, sounds like he's putting on a voice. And Amanda Paige, just her voice in this just drives me up the wall. I can't explain it. That's how she talks, and I don't know if it's the sound design or what, but I just want her to punch her face in. Her snobby. Yeah, she annoys me, and I'm glad she wasn't brought back. I don't know. This character, I think, again, she's important because Mulder, we see this time and time again, especially with another character who turns up way too many times in this show, later on in this list. Mulder, apparently, he separates from a woman, and then every time he sees her, he just can't help but kiss her again. Or let her kiss him. So, yeah, Phoebe, leads Mulder on absolutely, without question. And then it turns out she's totally hitting on the guy that they're protecting or something. And Mulder's like, So, and you see it through the episode that Mulder knows that he's being messed with, and yet he can't help himself. So yeah, unfortunately Phoebe does fall in that femme fatale category, and as a result I find her really annoying. It's difficult. It's a season 1 episode, and it's very much a product of its time. I don't know. She's obviously important to the episode, and I don't remember what I said about the episode originally, but I enjoyed the episode for the most part, and I can't deny it. I can't deny it. I enjoy Scully's absolute contempt for Phoebe. Hello. and stuff like that. I enjoyed that and I guess because it's a little off because it's only season 1. You know what? I think if it had happened a lot later, I would have been a lot more. Okay, that's it's good. But because it's season 1 and Mulder and Scully haven't been together as partners for long, and that it does feel a little forced. Yeah, I think there's not much to say about Phoebe. She's only in 1 episode. As a result, I'm gonna put her in C. It's not Amanda Paige's fault. I found her really wooden. I find the character really wooden and annoying, and just, oh, my old friend Mulder. This, that, and the other. Just, no. This is a tough one. There's so many aspects that you have to think about a character's place in the canon. Which is going to be a bummer when I get to other characters who I absolutely despise. you know what, let's put her in B, because she serves her purpose. She does. I can't deny it. as annoying as she is, she serves a purpose. Unlike, next up, we have Dr. Bambi Berenbaum. Yeah, this, you know what? So fine. At least Phoebe had a pass with Mulder. It gave depth to Mulder's character, which is why I put her in B. She gave Mulder's character depth. She was there to cause some interest in chemistry between Mulder and Scully. Bambi, however, played by Bobby Phillips, is just here to make Scully jealous. Absolutely, 100%. That is their sole purpose. I don't know if they took some inspiration from because originally they wanted Scully's character to be this blonde bimbo style scientist, and they were going for this bimbo style character to be an entomologist. I don't know, but it just her character is just. I know, I'm aware I'm spending far too much time talking about this list, which is why I'm gonna rush through this one, because there's not much. There's not much substance to Dr. Bambi Berenbaum. The only interesting stuff is how Mulder talks about her. There are some fun scenes between her and Mulder, obviously. But that's her only purpose for being here. I think it's cool that she goes off with the old doctor in the wheelchair at the end. And I felt like that was true to her character, because at no point does she lead Mulder on. She never really gives me an impression that she's hitting on Mulder. It's all Mulder being like, oh, goo eyes, another brunette. So it's not her fault. But I feel like she's very shallow, and it's not Bobby Phillips. I don't know Bobby Phillips at all. I don't think, from acting world or whatever. But yeah, I'm not blaming her. I feel she's acted to the best of how. It's a Darren Morgan episode at War of the Coprophages. So people are there for a reason. They act a certain way for a reason. It's all with Darren Morgan. It's usually all well calculated. But yeah, as a result, and War of the Coprophages plays on that trope, the old horror, movie kind of tropes and stuff like that. And you have this. Because the joke is, I guess, her stereotype and the impact she has on the Mulder's. I would easily put her probably B for her just the lines we get as a result of her existence. But there's just not. I don't think there's much to her, so I'm going to put her in C. I just don't find her that important or anything. And I think a lot of the best scenes are as a result of her, but because of what Mulder or Scully say, when Scully turns up at the end and Bambi's like, oh, Fox told me to stay here. Should I come in? And Scully's loading her guns no, this is no place for an entomologist. And you're just like, that is amazing. But Bambi does nothing there. And yeah, no, I'm sorry. Next up, we have a much more important character, Jeffrey Spender, played by Chris Owens, who would play young cigarette smoking man once he was enrolled. Jeffrey doesn't really turn up until season 5. We have 4 years without him. And when we do get him, he's a total weasel. And I guess being son of Cassandra Spender, who we'll get to in this list, and Smoking Man, who again we'll get to, he's pretty messed up, bless him. I think he feels a little lost. And we see this when he gets roped into the syndicate and helping him out and stuff, and Daddy is testing him and stuff like that. Spender has an interesting arc in the show, which is why I think I'm easily going to put him. I'm actually going to put Spender in S. Because you know what? He is annoying, but he is meant to be annoying. He's not annoying unintentionally. He's there to wind you up, to make you go, why are you interfering with my Mulder and Scully adventures and stuff like that? Now, I did see somewhere in a book, I haven't got the book to hand at the moment to recheck, but apparently at one point, he was, I think they were looking at him to possibly replace Mulder, should David Duchovny not come back after season 5. So I think he was being like injected in to kind of get exposure and stuff like that. And then of course Duchovny stayed. And Spender's story went elsewhere. I don't know how true that is. I just know it was something I read at one point. There's no way. There's absolutely no way Spender could have been the lead on this show. And I'm not saying that just as a fan of Duchovny or Mulder. I'm not saying that as, like, Mulder and Scully on this show. I just don't feel like Spender has the charisma, just the character generally to carry the show. And I think we really saw that when the X-Files division was handed over to Spender and Fowley. And you see a bit of their work, and you're like, and Fowley we'll get into. But yeah, again, it's not Chris Owens, it's not even Spender. It's how he's implemented. That's how he's meant to be implemented. I think Spender goes on the most underrated, overlooked arc on this series. You know, he starts out as this, by the book agent, much like Scully actually. He starts as this by the book agent. He's controlled by his father. He has hatred towards his father, but then he's trying to get the proud, the attention of his father, and that he's worried about his mother. He thinks his mother is crazy because she's saying she's an abductee and all that stuff, but he worries about her. He worries about her health and that. He's looking out for her, and then he's put in charge of this division that he has no interest whatsoever, but again he's being controlled by Daddy, and then the second he turns his back on his father, he gets shot, and supposedly we never hear from him again. And then when he turns up years later, it turns out he's had all these experiments done on him, I guess to keep him alive, to test the technology that we eventually see of keeping somebody that should be dead alive. And, his body's burnt and he's scarred and he has bits missing from his body and that. And, it is annoying that he doesn't just identify himself in William, the season 9 episode William. We're led to believe that he might be Mulder, and you're just like, oh my god, Spender, just say who you are. You don't. I think they would help you more if they knew who you were than lying to them. But yeah, he comes back as this scarred guy, and he's trying to do whatever he can to fix things. Yeah, I just, and the fact that he puts himself in danger to appear at Mulder's trial and that, in The Truth, I think Spender has a really interesting arc, and that's why easily I think he belongs up in S, because you're supposed to hate him, but as a result you then enjoy him for his development, and I think he gets a lot more development than gets acknowledged sometimes. So yeah, kudos to him. He's not a character I normally think of. I would normally go, oh my god, not Spender again. But that's what you're meant to feel. So, yeah, just definitely S. But no, he never would have worked as a lead on the show. I'm sorry. Next up, we have got Mr. X, or X. I don't know. There seems to be some discrepancy on that. I always thought he was just called X, But I see him on a lot of stuff listed as Mr. X, which just makes me think of Mr. X in Resident Evil 2. So it's a little but anyway, X, played by Stephen B. Williams, brilliantly through season as a replacement for Deep Throat. Supposedly, Deep Throat was X's mentor. Yeah, so X, who we are later shown in season 5's The Unusual Suspects, actually was more involved in the syndicate and stuff like that before we see him years later. But he is Mulder's informant, mainly through season 2. Mulder and X part ways at the end of season 2. And we only see him sporadically through season 3. He does help Mulder out of the exploding train car. And of course in Wet Wired, he tries to feed the information to Mulder, but it then gets covered up and stuff. And you can see the mistrust with Smoking Man. And then he gets killed in the season 4 opener, Herrenvolk. Which does feel, unfortunately, feels a little underwhelming. But it was a big deal at the time. And a lot of the reasons why X wasn't in the show as much in season 3 was Stephen Williams was working on another show. So that's why we didn't get him as much. But I really enjoy X. And again, he's this character. I find him a lot more interesting than Deep Throat. Even though it feels like he had less screen time. He was in a lot more episodes, but I don't know, it's weird. I always feel like he had less screen time than Deep Throat. I should really do how many episodes and how much time were these two in. I keep thinking about that, and I was going to do it before I did this list, but anyway. Quality and quantity do not always equate, so it's beside the point. But yeah, X is an interesting character, just again in his impact on the show, on the characters, and I just find him really deep. In that, you can see him walking that line. He wants to, unlike Deep Throat, he's not doing this for his own gain. If anything, he's doing it, and he's doing it he seems to be doing it in some loyalty to his predecessor. But at the same time, he's not fully willing to put himself on the line. He's like, look, I'm doing this. I will do this, but I ain't dying for your cause, Mulder. and of course, then he does. I think he's really well acted, and you believe that he is like constantly looking over his shoulder for who might be there to kill him, or to find out that he's helping Mulder. When he's feeding this information and that. Just without question, I think X has to go in S, because he's just. I feel I genuinely feel his anguish sometimes. It does sometimes feel like he's just there to be the grumpy sod. But I genuinely feel his stress that he's trying to do the good and right thing. And especially after being with these, being on one side of the line for so long, he's trying to straddle that fence, and it ends up getting him bit in the ass or shot in the body. Yeah, so really well acted, and I know he's a character that you could go on about forever, but I am realizing that I've talked for a silly video. I've talked way too long about these other characters, so I really want to get through these, especially now because we are up to the big gun. Dana Catherine Scully, played brilliantly by Gillian Anderson. And I think the interesting thing, again, as I said, much like about when I mentioned Bambi, is that the rumor that I heard was that Scully in Chris Carter's original plan was supposed to be this blonde bimbo who nobody took seriously as a scientist. Um, this kind of Pamela Anderson-esque figure. And she was supposed to be this really good scientist that nobody took seriously because they just saw her as this blonde bimbo. And then Gillian Anderson comes along and auditions, and, Chris Carter, for all his faults, fought like hell against the 20th Century Fox execs who were like, no, we want some hottie. We want some sexy woman who's totally going to hit on Mulder and stuff like that. And you're like, oh no, this show could have been so different. And, Gillian Anderson, beautiful woman, but not traditionally so. And especially in the TV style of, especially at that time, the early 90s. And I think she's done a lot for, for a representation on media as a result. Because we started to see a lot of these shows that would then go, let's go for a more, Scully-ish, this not traditionally beautiful female. This shorter woman, not this leggy blonde or brunette or whatever. Scully, there's no question. There's no question. I don't even need to... Come on, guys. You watch this show. This character is amazing. Her integrity, her loyalty, her science. Everything is for science. And when it's not for science anymore, because her faith has been so badly beaten down, it's just for the truth. It's for the truth and Mulder and Scully is such an amazing character. Again, with as I said for Spender, just this amazing arc. And I know it's easy to put down season 8 and 9. It is. Unfortunately, she got done dirty so badly in season 9. I tried to... Part of me is like, oh, it's nice to see her missing Mulder, but I don't know who the pod person was in season 9, seriously. I just wish... To be honest, I wish she had been written out for season 9. I wish she and Mulder had just gone off, been a family, and that would have been it. We could have continued with Doggett and Reyes. Doggett and Reyes on this list. Okay, seriously. Doggett and Reyes are not on this list. I just realised. Okay. Wow. Well, I did say it was very early years focused. Yeah, okay. Which makes me worry that, Spender and his mother were included if they're just considered as for their season 5 appearances. Anyway. So, yeah, Scully just... I wish she'd gone away, really. As much as I love seeing her, I kind of regret that she's in season 9. And this character as well. There was a top 10 list of fates worse than death on the X-Files. I think What Culture did it. And they said, I think number 1 was everything that happens to Scully. And it's true. This poor woman gets put through so much. It is ridiculous. And it is all done because, ooh, look, drama for Mulder, drama for the show. Let's do this to Scully's body. Let's do that to Scully's body. Oh, but Mulder's so sad about it. But it's okay because Scully's the one who's going through it. And yeah, that is frustrating, especially when you get to the revival. I'm not angry about that at all. Yeah, I feel this poor woman, she does unfortunately get done dirty by the end of the show. I mean, both season 9 and then the revival. A lot of people are like, it's because Chris Carter's jealous about Gillian Anderson's popularity and stuff. And I don't necessarily feel that. I think that's a really silly reason. I mean, this guy, like I say, for all his faults, he fought like hell against every decision that Fox wanted to make. He refused to let Gillian Anderson go as Scully. He saw the chemistry between her and Duchovny and was like, no, she is my Scully. Now, I don't know. I don't know Chris Carter. I don't know. You know, he might be I made her and now she's off doing her own thing kind of thing. I don't know. But I think that's... to be honest, I just think Chris Carter saw, opportunities of things we can do with Scully. What hasn't been done to Scully's body yet? And ran with that. And yeah, I think that's I think that goes more into the portrayal and use of women and their bodies on this show. But Scully herself, amazing. Just every depth to her. You can take that character in so many different ways, and you know what they did in say Never Again, or you know, there's so many layers to her. She is not one note by any means. Well acted, very deep, a fascinating character, especially her story arc. Definitely S rank. I put her in SS rank if I could. That sounds wrong when I say SS rank. I play too many video games, sorry. Next up, we have got Alex Krycek. Okay, here's an interesting character. Alex Krycek, brought to us by Nicholas Lee, first appearing in season 2, in Sleepless, I think was his first episode. Yeah, Sleepless was the first one, wasn't it? Portrayed, led to believe that he was this green agent, green naive agent, and I think he is. I wish there was more depth to the backstory of Krycek, about how he came in, was recruited by the syndicate. Because you do get the feeling when he talks about, how people looked up to Mulder in the academy and that, you kind of get the impression that there actually is some truth there. But yeah, Krycek's an interesting character because he is this slightly one-noted villain, or antagonist more. He's this antagonist, but you do actually feel bad for him at times. I think because he gets screwed over so much, and he's nicknamed Rat Boy for a reason. He goes right underneath everything. He digs deeper than the syndicate go, and works in the shadows to. You never know who he's working for, though. Is he working for the good side or the bad side? He's working for himself. He's trying to, make money, get by, and do what he can to... I think he just likes messing with people, personally. He's really well acted. I don't think really there's anybody... I know I keep saying that, but let's be honest. I don't think anybody in this list... This show... Let's give it credit where it's credit due. When it casts people in roles, it does a good job. They are always well suited for the roles they're in. And I don't think that is any less obvious or well represented with Alex Krycek. Because he's just, especially when he gets his arm cut off in Tunguska, I feel like he's... Krycek, by the time you get, I feel like he's, because he starts then with the playing with the nanites to control Skinner in season 6, and I think things were, because once the show moved to LA and you lost a lot of those actors from Vancouver and stuff, and you lost a lot of characters as a result, I think obviously Krycek's role was scaled back quite significantly. I don't think it should have been ramped up anyway. But it's fun to see him not only as because he's still under the control of the syndicate, and no matter how much he keeps trying to break away from it, and he's overlooking Jeffrey Spender's training. And he goes out and he's like, wow, you're such a wet wipe. But it's interesting to see Krycek keep trying to break away from the syndicate. You know, even after he gets taken over by the Black Coil, after he gets his arm cut off and that, and he's using this old guy to clean up stuff with the Black Oil and whatnot. My brain's gone blank. I know what I'm talking about. In Terma. Yeah, in Terma. Sorry, that just my brain. I'm tired. Sorry. And like I say, I've been talking about these too much. Yeah. So basically, yeah, Krycek has a good arc. And I think there's a lot of depth to him that doesn't necessarily get really well investigated sometimes. So you have him take over Skinner. He now has these nanites, but then he disappears again. You know, after he's had his wig phase and stuff like that. But then he comes back with Marita. He and Marita, who have this hot, steamy sex scene, and clearly have this past. They then supposedly kill the Smoking Man in Season 7's Requiem. And then Krycek disappears again. And then he doesn't come back until the end of Season 8, where he's then like... not the season. He comes back in Dead Alive. When Mulder turns back up. And he's like, ooh, I have the vaccine to what Mulder's dealing with. Nerny, nerny, nerny. And then he drops it. And then it turns out that actually, apparently, normal human antivirals can kill off an alien virus. But, that keeps somebody alive for months on end. And that, I felt like, was a bit undercooked. Krycek's involvement there. You see him trying to manipulate the situation, but I just didn't feel it was very well executed. But then he turns up again at the end of Season 8, like, oh, they're after your baby, let me help you. And you're like, and Mulder lets Scully go off with Krycek, because he not trusts him, but he's like, and you can even see Krycek's like shock at like, wait, what? And you're like, at that point, you're like, wait, is Krycek actually trying to help? And I think that's the problem sometimes, the vagueness. It works for the character because you do wonder if he even knows what side he's trying to work on. But sometimes it can get a little frustrating. So, yeah, Krycek is just one of those ones you're just like, okay, can I have a more... and then he just gets shot while trying to get Mulder killed. Skinner shoots him, and you're spoilers. Sorry for a 20-year-old show episode. He gets shot, and I don't know. It just didn't feel. I feel like he should have been. I mean, he kind of was going for the gun at the end before he got shot in the head, but. I think I wish there'd been like a more action scene where he actually was threatening somebody, where it would have been more meaningful than just him standing and talking. Ooh, Skinner, kill Mulder. Ooh. I didn't feel like that was as meaningful. I mean, Skinner was just like, yeah, F off. But yeah, I felt like his death was a little, there could have been a lot more to it. But Krycek is a good character, and just one you can never really anticipate what move he's going to make next. So that's why I'm going to put him in S. I was kind of tempted to put him in A, but his impact on the Scully abduction, the characters that he kills, Melissa Scully, Mulder's dad. Just the involvement he has in so many key elements, I think, really helps me notch him up to S. Next up, we have Cassandra Spender, played by Veronica Cartwright, introduced in Season 5, Patient X. And, yeah, I think Cassandra Spender is a really odd character. Like I say, brilliant brilliantly played by Veronica Cartwright, but I just, I don't know. There's something I'm not comfortable necessarily putting her in S. I think she's the kind of character I can see probably more in B, actually, because she's just there. She is just there for the cause of other characters' actions, predominantly Jeffrey Spender. But she is important in Patient X and the Red and the Black because she's with Scully when they get called to this abduction site, which is where a load of people then get burnt. Don't know how. I'm still not clear on how. Possibly the guy helped save Cassandra. I'm not clear, or if she just survived it, or what. This woman just gets around. Seriously. I'm due to watch that episode soon, so my brain I don't know, that two-parter is just one that only certain parts really stand out to me. I think the more interesting stuff is when Cassandra comes back in season 6 from her abduction or whatever, and it turns out in Two Fathers One Son, it turns out that actually she is the first alien human hybrid patient. She now has the green blood, this has never come up before, and you're just like, what? Okay. I think she's interesting in the grand scheme of, again, her impact on Jeffrey and his motives for doing stuff. And also just, you see this manipulative tender side to Smoking Man in his scene with her, where she's like, oh, you bastard, and he's just like, I love you, and you do wonder if he did actually love her at one point, or if she just was some woman that was just there that he was then able to use to do these tests on and stuff like that. And then you start questioning, is it another Scully situation where actually she was being taken by men as opposed to aliens? Even though you do see that she was one of the people that was sent away for this trade with the aliens. So, yeah, because you see her with these Japanese doctors, and you're like, wait, who did the work, like, who turned her into the alien human hybrid? Was it the Japanese with their experiments, or was it because of her being away with the aliens and stuff? So, yeah, Cassandra Spender's an odd character in her placement in the show. She's only in three episodes. I mean, again, she disappears. Like, again, there's another situation where, so, this woman, I swear, everywhere she goes, people get burned. So, in Patient X, Red and the Black, they're on this bridge with other abductees, and then the rebels burn everybody, except for, Cassandra and Scully. Yay them. And then you have this other situation where the Syndicate again gather at this Air Force base, where back in the day they sent off their family members, including Cassandra Spender, and Cassandra gets taken there. God, my memory. This is a two-parter. I do not watch much at all. But then the rebels turn up again and kill the Syndicate members and burn them all. And I don't remember what happened to Cassandra after that, to be honest. I think she might have died. I don't remember her coming back. I certainly don't remember her. I'm trying to think. I don't think she came back. And I think that's sad that they never got her back. Again, probably an issue with Cartwright's schedule or money or whatever. I don't know. I do wish there'd been more of Cassandra Spender in it, because especially her impact on Scully and their connection. It would have been nice to see more of that. I don't feel there's much to Cassandra. So as a result, I am going to put her, when I actually managed to... I've been talking about the wrong person. Well, alright. I've been talking about the wrong person for the last 4 hours. I should have been talking about Fluke Man. Sorry. I zoomed in before, and I tried to remember. I tried to remember them in blocks, and I thought. Anyway, Cassandra. we'll talk about Fluky in a minute. Cassandra, I think I am gonna put in. That's a tough one. B or C. B or C, people. Vote now. Hit that subscribe button. Slam that bell. Um, if you want, if you want her in B, hit the subscribe. If you want her in C, press the like button. I'm going to put her in B. Because she's actually really well acted, and I find her fascinating. I would put her in C, I think, if she was in any less episodes. But again, well acted, well implemented, impactful on the myth arc and that. So that's why I'm going to put her in B. But next up, we have Fluke Man, portrayed by a very claustrophobic Darren Morgan in the season 2 episode The Host. There's not much to say about this character, is there? They don't talk. He just wiggles around a bit. It is a very scary concept. Genuinely, I'm going to rush through this one because I have been taking so long. But also because there's just not much to say about this character. Which is why it bugs me that he's on this. Again, you could have had the Peacocks on here. You could have had so many other. I'm genuinely still shocked Doggett and Reyes aren't on here, to be honest. And yet Kirsch is. Kirsch definitely had to be on here. No Gibson praise. No nothing. Fluke Man is a terrifying concept. Gross as all hell. Monster of the week. And that is literally the only reason why I'm not going to put him in D, because it's the concept of him. But he's that kind of monster, they do a very good job of not showing him too much. And if this was about the episode itself, this would be higher up. I don't remember where it ranked on my season 2 list. But I am going to put him in C, because there's just not much to Fluke Man. And his follow-up episode in the IDW comics, I did not like at all. I had a lot of holes and issues with this episode. Not because of Fluke Man himself. I mean, there were some questions, especially with the ending. I thought it was interesting. I think it's scary that, he's this monster made up from nuclear waste and stuff like that. But there's just not that much to say about him. So that's why I'm going to put him in C. Great episode. Definitely great episode. But just as a character, there's nothing to say. I don't want to do this. Next up, we have got Special Agent Diana Fowley, or Fowey as Byers pronounces it. It's really weird. I don't know if it's a Canadian accent thing or something, but it always sounds like he's saying Fowey. But, as the rest of the fandom calls her, the Foul One, played by Mimi Rogers. And I won't lie, I feel like Fowley is the reason why whenever I see Mimi Rogers in something, I just want to punch her. I don't know. She turned up on Dawson's Creek, and I just remember, I think she was like Jen's mum or something, and I genuinely had the reaction of, ugh. It was just like a natural reaction. Just like, no. She was more recently in the NCIS, and I didn't mind her so much, but normally I don't really care for Mimi Rogers anyway. But I think, unfortunately, Fowley is possibly. I mean, I didn't really know her before X-Files. Fowley is probably, I think, my main reason for disliking her. Uh, yeah, so Fowley was introduced in season five's the end, the final episode, before the move to LA. And so yeah, again, she is another person from Mulder's past, and possibly more significant than Phoebe. Again, depends on what you believe in fan fiction. We're never really. I think the timing works out that she might have been Mulder's wife at some point, but I don't know. I really struggle with the whole he was actually married thing. Just from like statuses on his FBI record and stuff like that. I did see something once, a fan fiction once, that like posited that Mulder wore the ring to just keep people away from him and stuff like that, to keep women away from him and let him get on with his work, which is an interesting concept, a bit silly, but yeah. So Fowley, okay, again, here to be the femme fatale, and if you ever wanted embodiment of femme fatale in modern TV, it's Diana Fowley, whose sole purpose is always there to make Scully jealous, to woo Mulder and make him all, ooh, okay, I'll listen to you, darling. Okay, I'll leave my quest alone if you say so. He goes all puppy on her. And to be honest, I'm going to talk about this more when I talk about the episodes, but I really get frustrated with just so much development is done in the Mulder-Scully relationship, friendship, partnership, whatever you want to call it. I'm not talking about anything too explicit, but so much work is building up that friendship, and fine. Absolutely fine. I completely get then you to add tension to it. You bring in this character, especially from Mulder's past, to add tension and mistrust and conflict between Mulder and Scully. But it does annoy me when they have so much build up, especially like the missed kiss in Fight the Future, and then you have something like Two Fathers, One Son, where Fowley kisses Mulder and he just goes along with it, and you're like, really? It's so forced sometimes, and that's more a case on Mulder's part and how he's written in those moments. But yeah, I just Fowley is only there to cause trouble, and we're supposed to be surprised. We're supposed to be surprised by the time we get to biogenesis. Or no, sorry. I always remember the big reveal in Two Fathers, One Son, where you see that Smoking Man has been talking to Fowley. It's like, ta-da! She was on his side all along. And you're like, okay, not surprised. Now, I say that now. I think there might have been some shock and frustration and anger at the time, because again, I saw these two episodes originally on VHS, on the VHS two-parter, because BBC were assholes who took forever to show the series. We were always a year behind Sky or something. It was ridiculous. Just she's, I don't know, you're supposed to feel for her when she finally helps Scully at the end of the Sixth Extinction 2. And you're just like, okay. She was forced into it. She loved Mulder. And I think that's the interesting thing, actually. The scene where Fowley is looking over Mulder and she's like, oh, I love you, Fox. You're going to be this, that, and the other. It's all about her hopes and the future and stuff like that. Whereas Scully has her scene with Mulder, and it's just like, I need you to wake up. You need to do this and stuff like that. Which is an amazing comparison between the two characters and their place with Mulder. So yeah, I hate to say this, but I actually think Fowley is. Okay, I don't like how she's used. I don't like her stereotypical femme fatale, just there to make Scully jealous. I don't like that, and I've not liked that with any female character that has been here for that sole purpose. But I think what they use it for and how they use it progresses the story, progresses the canon, and obviously Sixth Extinction is quite important. Unfortunately, Mulder seems to forget. Following episode, Mulder's just like, yeah, whatever. And she's never, ever mentioned again. Which I think, like, for her sacrifice is really annoying. And I hate that. I hate this woman. There was an amazing thread back in the day on the official X-Files forum, bulletin board, whatever you call it. And there was this thread. There was this thread of best ways to kill Diana Fowley. It wasn't called that. It was called something else. And I'm so annoyed because I printed them up. They were so good. And there was some really fun, slightly worrying ways sometimes people had of well thought out ways of people had of killing somebody. My sister one day, she told me to put down a suggestion, and I just sat there after she told me. I was like, what the hell? I thought I hated this character, but okay, sister, carry on. And she was like, oh no, you strap her up and then you plant some bamboo under her and let it grow. Let it grow. Let it grow. And I was just like, okay. Now everybody on the forum loved it when I posted it, but I was just still sat there going, what? This sounds awful. And I was like, oh wait, it's Fowley. Yeah, let's totally do that. Sorry, that was just, I had to share that. That's a story from my past I just had to share. But yeah, I'm gonna put her in A because I feel like she's important, much like a Krychek. She's important to the show. I get why she's here, and I think it's good that they didn't just throw some random woman in. That Mulder had this past with her made more sense that he was all doe-eyed with her and stuff. I just hate sometimes how she's used and then just forgotten about. Like, she's just there to cause trouble and then is gone and never mentioned ever again. But well performed, and yeah, I hate this attitude again that women are just there to make Scully jealous, and yeah, that they have to be these breathy, leggy brunettes. Anyway. Next up, we have got Walter Sergey Skinner, assistant director Walter Skinner, played brilliantly by Mitch Pileggi. And, you know, let's not dilly-dally. You know he's going to be an S rank. Just brilliant. I think, again, as I said before, unlike Kirsch, Skinner has a really good arc. You think he's going to be against them. He comes in at the very end of season 1, and in Squeeze, not Squeeze, Tombs. I know what I'm talking about. And you know, he's this gruff. He's their boss, and I'm so glad he was introduced because Blevins I never clicked with. Chief Blevins, who's there for like 2 episodes before he disappears, and you're like, wait, who are okaying these cases? Finally we get Skinner, and yeah, he has a really good arc where you see him. I have issues sometimes when you then find out he had this out-of-body experience, paranormal experience, which is something that I get frustrated with prequels to the show, you know, prequel fanfic or stories, which then, because they're trying to stay in the realm of the science fiction drama, they have to give this character this slightly paranormal past, paranormally touched past. But I think it really works well for Skinner that he's had this experience in Vietnam, where he had this out of body experience after, an incident where he should have died essentially. And his solo episodes, Avatar, Zero Sum, SR819, and that are really good episodes, which give him chance to really shine. I just enjoy watching the development of Skinner's character from this gruff, by the book boss, and then he starts buying into Mulder's cause, and he tries not to, and he's warned about it, and he's like, no, I'm totally not into, I'm not, and you can see him fighting. He wants to reopen the X-Files after Scully's taken, but he has these orders, and he has Smoking Man controlling him, and he gets out from Smoking Man's control in Blessing Way paperclip, but then he's right back in when Scully's in danger and got the cancer. He puts himself right back in. He's like, okay, look, I'll do whatever you want, Smokey, just help Scully. And he gets himself back in the fold, and then he's trying to fight to get out again, but then Krychek's got control, and this poor man, he does not get anywhere near enough love sometimes. I think he walks that line of bureaucracy and authority, but trying to be there for his friends, and again for truth and justice, and those things do not always equate. So yeah, just easily Skinner is an S rank. What the hell? There is so much. He has so many good moments and interesting character development, and especially like in something like Zero Sum, where he's doing the Smoking Man's bidding, and then he's like, "Wait, you're not actually going to help, are you?" And then he's trying to fix the issue that he's created, and then he's caught onto by Mulder and stuff like that, and he's like, "Look, I'm just trying to do." So this poor man, yeah, he's been shot, he's been infected by nanites, he's been beat the shit out of, all in the name of trying to do what's right. Yeah, just the show would not be the show without Skinner. Everybody's like just Mulder and Scully, but this, much like The Lone Gunman, would not be, this show would not be as good as it is character wise. That's the thing. When I talk about this show, there is so much just character involvement that I love, which is what makes me love this show so much. And Skinner is part of that. So, yeah, that's why we have to put him there. Next up, we have Maggie Scully. Bless her. Poor innocent Maggie Scully, played by Sheila Larkin. And, yeah, I'm really sad that, again, I know this is an issue because of the move from Vancouver to LA. I'm really sad we did not get her more during the later years of the show. Especially after, Scully's dad dies, and then Maggie is the one who has to deal with the fact that her daughter's been killed. One of her sons might be imaginary. Sorry. I stand by the fact that Charles Scully is imaginary because we never see him, and it takes until the revival to even get a voice to him. Her eldest son is a dick, and her baby girl is an FBI agent who constantly is getting abducted, shot, disappearing, drugged, this, that, and the other. I mean, this poor woman, it's impressed she's not gone mad yet. No wonder she sticks so close to her faith in that. This woman is so strong, and I love her connection with Mulder. She trusts him implicitly to find Scully. She sees the connection between them. And yeah, she's always been, it's interesting because, Mrs. Mulder, who again is not on this list, is such a bad mother figure. And yet then you got Maggie, who's just adorable. You just want to cuddle her. Uh, I feel again she's I think she shows where a lot of Scully's strength comes from. You can see that she's a strong-willed character herself. Even though when you see her a lot, she's emotionally charged. Yeah, I really enjoy her character. She does not get anywhere near as much airtime as she deserves, or much script that she deserves. But I mean, if you want a good episode where she shows her strength and that, Wet Wired season 3. She stands down Scully, who's holding a gun. Scully's holding a gun, pointing a gun at Mulder, and Maggie just steps in front and says, "No, darling, you're not yourself. This man, you can trust this man. He's here to help. Please, please listen." And she puts herself between Scully and Mulder, and yeah, moments like that just show how good this character was and could have been had she had more lines. It feels weird putting her in S because obviously she's not as big a character as a lot of the other people on this list. But Maggie's Maggie. Come on. Yeah, I'm gonna put her in S. Yeah, I'm gonna put her in S because Maggie. I really wish we'd had more. And I'm really sad that their only way of dealing with her character, and I get why it happened because of what happened with Glenn Morgan's mum. And that was the inspiration for Home Again in season 10. But I'm really sad. This is a recurring issue on the show, that their way to have closure with a character is to just kill them off. And I really wish we'd had the chance to see Maggie back, having a relationship with her daughter, especially after, because we don't know what the deal was after Mulder and Scully went on the run and stuff like that after season 9, because that was just forgotten about and brushed under the carpet when the movie I Want to Believe came along. And then because they didn't want to dwell on it, then the revival came along, and again it was just ignored. So it would have been nice to see Maggie have at least one episode where she and Scully met up, something happened, they talked. I know this show isn't a soap and stuff like that, and I know it's a show that likes to avoid any kind of in-depth dramatic, discussion. But it would have been nice. I said this about the scene that was cut from Paperclip, Blessingly, sorry. It would have been nice to see. I just wish we'd had another scene, a more lively scene with Maggie before she was bumped off. But yeah, that's why I got to put her in S. Next up, we have got Deep Throat, the OG informant, played by Jerry Hardin, from season 1 until the end of season 1, where he was promptly shot, because that's how we deal with characters on this show. Okay, so I think the fascinating thing about Deep Throat was obviously his death at the end of season 1. Again, I said this before, they were so proud of that, killing him off, that it was this, oh, nobody's safe on this show, anybody can die, and it was a massive thing at the time. Unfortunately, it just ended up not happening again, I don't feel. But it's amazing to think that a show in its first year, with its characters, could have so much impact in that one scene at the end of that episode. Because again, season 1 was before myth-arc episodes were a set thing. So I think this is what I loved about season 1, is that a character like Deep Throat, he could come and go wherever he wanted in any Monster of the Week episode. He turns up in Eve or Ghost in the Machine or stuff like that. Was he Ghost in the Machine? Anyway, whatever episode he turns up in. They're not necessarily myth-arc episodes. They're Monster of the Week episodes that have some, you have a myth, a conspiracy character there. I kind of love that about season one, where it's not only you have Monster of the Week and then Myth Arc. There's no, like, the lines are blurred. So yeah, I love that, and I love that about his character, where he can come in and before the lone gun. I mean, essentially, it's before the lone gunmen were more set in stone as characters for helping out with this kind of thing. He was there to give this history on certain governmental projects, and you know, and you find out that actually a lot of it he was just purposely feeding to Mulder to help, you know, navigate Mulder through the work of the syndicate. But I think it's fascinating how much this character was so embedded in the series that then they kept bringing Jerry Harding back. For, you know, after his character dies, he's then back as either visions or you know, a shapeshifter appearing to freak out Smoking Man or something in something like in Talifakumi or something. So it's interesting that character had so much of an impact that he kept coming back because he had this connection with these characters, be it Mulder, who, you know, both in Six Extinction and then even in the revival in season 11 in this, where they go to his grave and they mention about him, and that's a really nice callback. I think, you know what, the Deep Throat is the kind of character that I think we're going to have to put in S regardless. Because he doesn't have much depth. And actually, I don't feel like he has much real depth. Because he's just there. He just appears, he gives information. And you're always wondering, much like Krychek or something, you're wondering where he's laying on the side of what's going on. I don't feel like he gets much depth until season 4's Muses of a Cigarette Smoking Man, which again is when he's, you know, when he's been dead for 3 years. Because you see his history with the Smoking Man, and you can see he's doing his job, but he does have these regrets about doing stuff and that, which you wonder if that's a lead-in for then his role in season 1. So, if I'm talking about, like, just general characteristics and depth, I would probably put him in A, possibly B. But his impact on the show's story, canon-wise and that, I think is just ongoing. And even though it feels like sometimes he's been forgotten, he then just comes back and you're like, oh yeah, he was important on this show. And I think as a result, we have to put him in S. We have to. So yeah, I'm going to put him S. Because I think without question, he's important to the show and really well acted. And I sometimes feel sad that he was brought back more than X. Which is why I joke that even though X, I think, was in more episodes, it always feels like, you know, Deep Throat was in more. But yeah, no, that's why I'd have to go for him. Put him there, sorry. Next up, we have a very, very odd character in Marita Covarrubias. I'm trying to say that properly. Marita Covarrubias, played by Laurie Holden. Again, unfortunately, much like Suzanne, is this blonde woman just there to go, talk very briefly. Aren't I sexy? Yes. I kind of want you, Mulder, but I don't, because I want it hot and heavy with Krychek. Can you hear me? I don't know. No, that's not fair. I just, you know what? That's not fair. I'm taking their Mickey, but that's how she kind of comes across sometimes. Just because she does this whole, like, stare down and, like, yes, Mr. Mulder, well, and sometimes she just doesn't seem to know what she's doing. She gets enrolled by X, who gives away, like, this information, you know, go here to the representative of the Secretary General and stuff. But I do want, and I think it's interesting that she's added because, you know, I've said before on on the like with Senator Matheson, who again should have been here. Uh, Somebody like Senator Matheson gives this show, because she works with the UN, she gives an international aspect to the show of where they can, countries they can deal with, and stuff like that. Be that Russia, or she gives information for the guy in Teleco, the African guy. And so she adds a more, this very FBI federal government show gives it more scope with its federal agencies and then international wise. So I think her place is, I think it was a good choice to put her as that role. Some of the information, I was never clear of who she actually was at this office. I didn't get the impression she was the actual representative to the Secretary General, but I could be wrong. I wasn't clear. Somehow she's getting this information. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, and she has this past with Krychek. When she's on this UN tour thing, we see her have this run-in with Krychek, and they have this nice, hot, sexy scene and stuff like that. In Red and the Black. Is it the Red and the Black? It's Patient X, that two-parter. And it's fun to see their connection, and then when they come back in Requiem together and stuff like that. But then again, her character gets just... it's weird because she goes through so much. We have so much lead up with her. She's, she helps Mulder and that. But then she gets caught and she's infected with the black oil, and they're testing vaccines on her. And then we catch up with her later when we're dealing with Miss Cassandra Spender. I was going to call her everything then but Cassandra. I was going to call her Veronica Cartwright, Mrs. Spender. We catch up with Cassandra later, and then we find Jeffrey finds Marita. And she's like in a complete state where she's been experimented on. But then and that's interesting, but then she gets dumped, she just gets forgotten. And we don't see her again until she randomly turns up okay, and on a vengeance thing towards Smoking Man, and, enroll in Krychek. So I do feel like her character very, very easily, after, some time of development, then gets dumped. And then beyond Requiem, again, we don't see her until she turns up for the truth as one of the witnesses. And we find out Krychek's ghost is like, they'll kill her and stuff, and then she goes away. And you're like, goodbye. So yeah, I feel like after her infection by the black oil, she gets totally messed up, and I don't like that. I think it's this show's issue sometimes with dealing with characters that they're then like, we've got these people on roster, what do we do with them now? So as a result, I am gonna have to put you know what, I think she's another A character. I don't think she has the impact that Fowley has. But I think she's an A character. She's well acted. I enjoy her. I feel like she got shafted, and yeah. That's why I'm gonna have to put her there. Next up, we have got another hard hitter in the form of Cigarette Smoking Man, Cancer Man, CGB Spender, Carl Gerhard Bush Spender, whatever you want to call him. Smokey. Old Git. Played by William B. Creepy Old Git. Played by William B. Davis, who is unfortunate, is a victim of his popularity, I think. As this for the whole first initial run of the series, 9 years, was this boogeyman who had this control. I always loved, and I said this in uh, my tier in season 4 video when I talked about Tungus Grunterma. I love, my favourite scenes sometimes are just, and we'll get more to this when we talk about the next character, but my favourite scenes sometimes are just watching these old white guys clearly have so much distrust for each other after working together for so long. It's hilarious, and especially Smoking Man, who clearly has some god complex, some grand ideas of grandeur, who wants to be in charge of everything. And he doesn't like it when everybody else holds him back and tells him not to do certain things. And he's like, well, I don't care. I'm going to do things my way. I love those scenes between him and Well Manicured Man and First Elder. Again, another missed opportunity here. That's when I love Smoking Man the most, when he's doing the bureaucratic finagling and stuff like that. Unfortunately, then, because of his popularity, originally he was just this background character in the pilot, and then he kept getting asked back, and William B. Davis had stopped smoking at the time. He hadn't smoked for like 10 years. And then he was smoking, and because he was only doing bit parts, he would just, he would have a normal cigarette. And then they kept calling him back, and he was like, I should probably stop this. And then he reverted to herbal cigarettes, which apparently he says were awful, I think he said. Yeah, so, his popularity kept bringing him back to the show, and then his role got bigger, and, it took a while for him to be talking. And I love that development of his character, but then at some point in later years, primarily when it moved to LA, he just became, like, Musings as a Cigarette Smoking Man, a season 4 episode, tries to give him some humanity, which is never good for... I don't know why nobody learns this. You never give the villain a backstory or try to make him sympathetic. It's garbage. And they tried, but then by like season 6, especially after, not so much Fight the Future, I still felt he was an essential part of this conspiracy, but by season 6, certainly the Biogenesis 6 Extinction triple, he just becomes this very pantomime, stereotypical grinning Cheshire Cat villain, and you're just like, and it becomes really tired, and then he supposedly dies, except that a roll down the stairs in a wheelchair is not going to kill him. I just can't believe Marita and Krychek didn't just shoot him in the head. Why? It's not like Krychek is squeamish. It's not like this. He's not killed people before, so I do not know why they didn't just do that. It's so stupid. And then Smoking Man disappears for 2 seasons, and you're just like, okay, like he has no involvement in the Mulder abduction storyline at all. Nothing really with the Williams storyline. And then he turns up in The Truth, and it turns out he's been out in these pueblos with his tracheotomy and that, with this long hair. And you're like, okay. And he's like, let me tell you some secrets. And you're like, okay. And he's like, yeah, the world's going to end. Goodbye, bitches. And you're like, oh, you came back for this? Really? Okay. And in a way, I like that reveal. I think it's silly that you're like, oh, the Navajo's talking to this old man living in these pueblos, and you're like, what? And then it turns out it's Smokey, and he's just being tended to by this old woman who doesn't speak English, and you're like, what? I didn't feel... That felt really rushed because, they were running out of time. They had to have that trial. And clip show. But the problem is then he takes a missile to the face, Everybody, Kim Manners and everybody were like, no, this is how we, bring an end to this character. This is how, after all these fake deaths, this is how we bring him to an end. So you see his skeleton, he is gone. That's it, he's done. Except popularity is popularity, and he was brought back for the revival. And, I could sit here and moan about the revival for forever. But Smoking Man's involvement in the revival is just the worst. And yes, you could say, they're trying to answer questions from before and stuff. But I really feel he's a victim of that. That he had an interesting storyline up to a point, and then it just started getting silly, and exaggerated, and really unnecessary. I think the reveal of him as Mulder's dad, because originally I think he was supposed to be Samantha's dad. At some point it got changed, and he's Mulder's dad. I loved the scenes between him and Tina Mulder, this tension, and you're just like, this is so gross. I think it's interesting, especially in the reasons for the sixth extinction, what happens there with the brain surgery and that. But again, the brain surgery was supposed to have then been killing Smoking Man, but again, he survives that. It's fine. Nothing kills this guy. He's a bloody wily coyote at this point. Which is why there's no way that Mulder killed him at the end of My Struggle 4. Oh god, I just thought of My Struggle 4. So yeah, you know what, I'm gonna put Smoking Man is important, obviously. And I'm not letting certain things tarnish my judgment. But I won't lie, I want to put him in A, because I just feel like he gets absolutely screwed with. That his character becomes really unnecessary, and I feel like there were so many opportunities they had to give him a proper ending. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. Out of this whole list, I think this is the one that I'm going to get the most hatred for. Because of his importance, obviously, to the show. There's no question. And he has some amazing scenes. Seasons 1 through 5, when he's trying to make the deal with Mulder, trying to bring him into the fold, which he then does with Jeffrey in season 6, in exchange for Scully's health, and Mulder considers it. I know he should go in S. I absolutely know he should go in S. He's that important to the show. I just don't like what they did with his character after season 5. And again, I don't know if that's just like William B. Davis and stuff like that for getting the Vancouver actors to LA or what. Especially because William B. Davis was a teacher at acting school and stuff. So getting him to travel was probably more problematic. I'm gonna have to put him in A. I'm sorry. I just don't like what they did with his character. He was still a good villain, but it was just a little too over the top, and everything was run by him. And even in the revival, you've got these two conspiracy people, but they're not with him. So then you're like, well, wait, who is spreading this virus? Is it just him or what? So, he just became cartoonish. So that's why I've got to put him in A. As much as I know I'm fully aware he belongs in S. I'm sorry, guys. I got to put him here. Happy April Fools. Next up is Well Manicured Man, played by John Neville. A character who really wasn't in the show anywhere near as much as he should have been. But kudos to him for having his big exit in the Fight the Future movie. I thought that was really interesting because we'd seen so much distrust with Smoking Man and within the Syndicate. and who was doing what for what reason and stuff like that. Manic Man was always, I call him Manic Man, sorry, it's just my shorthand way of saying it. Um, that was always, he was always an interesting character because you could see him getting frustrated, and in his old age, especially in Fight the Future, where all he cares about, you feel like he's really been doing a lot of this for his family. And then when, the syndicate is putting everything else above his family, he's like, dude, what the hell? I had to deal with this. Back off. Oh, actually, he would have been, excuse me, would you back off? I'm dealing with this with my family. Um, no, he's just, and I think again, it adds this international element where you have this British guy in this group of old white American guys. I actually really enjoy. He's not important, and as a result, he's not going to end up in S rank. He's important in that obviously he gives the vaccine that somehow exists, even though they've been working on Marita for a while. He has this vaccine to the alien virus that infects Scully, and he sacrifices himself to give it to Mulder. He knew he was going to die there. I don't think he probably expected the bomb. I don't know. But I don't know who he thought was going to drive his car when he got back into it. But okay, after shooting the driver, I feel like there's a depth to Well Manicured Man that was shown, and we never, because he was such an elusive character that we didn't always see. He certainly had more depth to him than, say, First Elder or anybody else in that consortium. But yeah, I always felt like there were flashes of this is who this guy is, and then they would take it away because he wouldn't appear again for ages. He helps Mulder. He meets with Mulder at one point when there's the whole stuff with what's happened to Skinner and stuff like that in the brain. Think, which episodes is it? It's the ones I always get muddled up. It's the Nisai 731 or Piper Maru Apocrypha one. You can see him try. I think he wants to get things with the aliens back on track. And I think he sees Mulder as, even though Mulder is trouble and needs to be stopped, he also sees that Mulder can help them with their agenda, kind of thing. I genuinely really enjoy Well Manicured Man. And I easily think he belongs on A. While I'm looking, though, I'm actually going to move Cigarette Smoking Man on further consideration. I'm going to move him back up to S. I think the revival really kills his character for me. And as a result, I have a bad taste in my mouth. But yeah, so that's why I'm moving him up to S. It's not normally like me to change my mind like this. But I think he'll go down as one of the greatest villains of all time. And I think Well Manicured Man belongs in A. Because, yeah, for all the reasons I said, basically. I think he's just... I just enjoy him, and he's a fun character in the grand scheme of the villain side of things. Next up, we have got... Why list? Why? Detective White from Season 3 Syzygy. Played by Dana Wheeler Nicholson. And just... I don't know. I think straight away I'm going to have to put her in the C rank. Because she is another Dr. Bambi Barrymore, essentially. She is Chris Carter's attempt to to a character who is only there to make Scully jealous. And more so Detective White, because she doesn't do much of anything. She's there to come on to Mulder, and just and be there for inappropriate, like Mulder acting weird, and I don't even get a sense of her as a character, as a detective. She's just, I get that everybody in this episode is acting weird because of the planetary alignments and all that stuff. But I don't get any feeling for who she is, how good she is as a detective in this small town, as a woman. Because there's no real other law enforcement in this episode. She's the only real one. So you don't really get any basis, unlike, say, an episode, take an episode like Aubrey, where you get, BJ's involvement with her fellow male counterparts and stuff like that. You don't get that feeling with Detective White. You get no depth to her character. She is there for one purpose and one purpose only, to be the people that call Mulder and Scully in and then make Scully act super jealous. I don't like it. It winds me up the wrong way. I don't care how funny I find it, as entertaining as I find it to watch. There's just nothing interesting about the character. She's not bad or badly acted. I just feel her script is really off, and underdeveloped. So yeah, easily I wouldn't put her at the bottom, but I will put her here because there's nothing to say. There's just nothing to say about her character. She's like, I can't even. It's he tried. Chris Carter tried, but anyway. Next up, we're getting near the end. I know I've been blathering on for over 2 hours. Next up, we have Arthur Dales, played predominantly, I mean, if you count him as the one character, then played only by the late, great Darren McGavin, who was, of course, in Kolchak the Night Stalker, which was back in the 70s, which was a massive influence. Chris Carter has gone on record, has said, was a massive influence for the X-Files. So it made sense to introduce McGavin into this series. And I always enjoyed Arthur Dales, be it McGavin's portrayal or the younger Dales, performed by Frederick Lane. I just always enjoyed the character. I thought it was interesting seeing. I'm not a big fan. Travellers up until the revival was easily my least favourite episode. I think I'm going to be surprised when I go back to season 5. But easily off the top of my head, Travellers was always my least favourite episode. But I enjoy the idea that Dales was this agent who originally created the X-Files, not created them, but started filing them. Was more God, sorry, again, I'm tired. That he had involvement in the X-Files and he introduced them to Mulder. I like his snappy dialogue and McGavin's performance, and I think it's really sad that he wasn't able to be in the Unnatural in season 6 due to illness. The fact that he filmed a load of scenes, but then they had to be reshot due to his inability to complete filming, is really, really sad. And it didn't help that they then tried filling it in with to avoid completely having to rehash all the scenes. The fact that they named the new character Arthur Dales as well, it's like, oh no. But 6-day filming schedule or whatever, I guess they gotta do what they gotta do. Arthur Dales is a fun character, well acted. I especially love him in Aguamala, and his importance for telling Mulder, if I had a partner like Scully back in the day, you know, maybe I wouldn't have uh, given up the X-Files and stuff. Which is funny because, you know, slowly but surely, it's like, does Mulder want to constantly be on this? It's funny to think that Scully is, you know, a reason for Mulder to carry on with the X-Files when actually he thought she'd be the one to stop him, kind of thing. So it's interesting that Arthur Dale's saying that. I just think he brings a lot of levity to his scenes, but depth and history to the X-Files unit. And yeah, I mean, there's not really much to say about Dales because he's not in much. And it's also difficult because, again, I feel like Frederick Lane and Darren McGavin's versions of Dales are two very different beings. But then McGavin gives this weight and this age to the character after, you know, we don't know what Dales has gone through in the whole time. What happens in the Unnatural definitely scars him. But yeah, I just and Travelers. I enjoy him. Unfortunately, he's not as big a player as he could have been or should have been, and again, that comes down, unfortunately, to McGavin's health. But I'm going to put him in A because I enjoy him. He doesn't do the greatest amount. I just enjoy his character and the way he's portrayed. Unfortunately, he's not in the greatest episodes. I love Aguamala. Aguamala gets so much hate. But yeah, unfortunately, he is in Travelers. But yeah, no, I just, it's difficult. But I mean, if you're going to put him up against people who are only in one episode, then of course he's vital. So yeah, but of course, you know, essentially there would not be any X-Files with Arthur Dales, to then pass on the information to Fox William Mulder. Special Agent Fox William Mulder, played, of course, by Mr. David Duchovny. And, I mean, come on. I mean, seriously, is there any question here? It's gonna be S. I mean, that's just stupid if you think it's gonna be any less. It's funny because, you know, it's funny when you think... David Duchovny is not your first choice of people you would think to play Mulder, and yet he plays him so well. And I can't imagine anybody else playing this character. His deadpan can be a little annoying sometimes, but again, I think it just really works really well for this particular character. And I think it's some of the best acting Duchovny ever does. I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I do think he can be very hit and miss. But just the range he shows on this show as Mulder, and just Mulder as an interest. Duchovny always puts Mulder down. He's a more, you know, and he especially hates how Darren Morgan writes him. But I think Mulder is compelling. He can be annoying, but he's compelling in his drive for the truth, his drive to find these answers for his missing sister. And the fact that drives him even before, you know, we have these, The Unusual Suspects and Travelers to give us this history to Mulder pre-X-Files. We unfortunately get characters like Phoebe Green and Diana Fowley to give him his romantic interests in the past, and I think actually that works really well to show his previous tastes and then to show how different his relationship with Scully is. That it is more a very cerebral, you know, respectful level that they have with each other. It's not just all, oh, you're a pretty person, let's hook up. There's so much more depth to it, and trust and all those kind of things. I mean, I don't know. Mulder. I don't think Mulder would be as compelling without Scully. But at the same time, I don't think Scully's as compelling without Mulder for them to push each other and to have those opposites. Genuine, I love these characters so much. To have those opposites and headbutting and then eventual, mixing of beliefs and stuff, especially as things evolve, as Scully gets to the point where I've seen things that I cannot deny. And you have Mulder even, especially after Scully gets her cancer, and he finds out that it was because they were trying to make him believe. And his arc through season 5, it's annoying. It's that kind of thing where they're trying to change it up. They've got Scully to this point where after so many years, she's like, no, Mulder, I didn't see anything. And they've got to try and change it up to change that dynamic. And through season 5, Mulder's like, yeah, whatever, and the whole stuff with Crush Cow and that. You've got Mulder going, oh yeah, I don't even know if I believe in that stuff anymore. And Scully's like, well, my job is done here. Bye. And it's funny because Mulder gets so up his own butt in the same way, like with his skepticism, as he did with his beliefs. So I think it's interesting. It can get a little frustrating because it does feel very contrived, the way it's worked to try and change up this dynamic. But yeah, Mulder, come on, easily S rank. One of the most fun leading characters, and just I do feel like he and Scully are just much like, say, the Lone Gunman. I can't imagine a series without Scully. If you're going to continue with Mulder, you have to have Scully there. And we felt it through season 9, season 8, without Mulder. Scully just wasn't Scully without Mulder. Which is why, again, I stand by. I wish that they'd let her go in season 9. I know Anderson was contractually signed on still and all that stuff, but yeah, I get why Duchovny left. It did not help, obviously, where he was suing 20th Century Fox due to merchandising and distribution issues and how much they were getting paid or not paid for that redistribution. And I think it's admirable that he stayed friends with like Chris Carter and that through all that. But I can get why he was getting bored of the show, especially when you get to, say, season 7, and you see a lot of those stories, and you're like, is there any energy left in this show? I feel there was, but you can definitely feel the exhaustion through season 7. So I understand why Duchovny was, and it does annoy me because obviously they moved the series to LA to better accommodate him, especially after he married Téa Leoni. I don't have the issues that other people have with it, but it's sad that they moved it. I don't think it could have continued in Vancouver much longer. I mean, they were reusing the same places over and over again, and there's only so much you can do with that same atmosphere. Especially as the years were going on and different series were coming and showing their skills at showing stories and stuff like that. It is sad, though, that obviously after they moved, literally 2 years later, he's like, yeah, I'm done now. Goodbye. But, you can't predict that kind of thing. Yeah, I get why he left the show and that. But Mulder was definitely missed in season 8. And the whole story was him going into hiding and that on his own in season 9 was stupid. And yeah, I just think Scully should have just been written off, whatever. Anyway, Mulder's the best, but I think he's only the best because he's got Scully by his side. So take one of those away and immediately the character just slips down to A, probably. But anyway, finally, random one to end on, I guess, is Melissa Scully, played by Melinda McGraw. And Melissa Scully is actually an interesting character who sadly was not given the screen time she deserved. And I think that's mainly because of, again, I think it's because of the relationship with Dana. And just how so different they are. Like, Melissa is more a Mulder. She believes in New Age, crystals, and all that kind of healing and psychic stuff. And it's funny to see her so diametrically, opposed with Dana, who's just like, that's all hooey. Science, science, science. But it's fun to see her. I really miss the scene that was cut from Paperclip. No, Blessing Way, sorry. The Blessing Way. I really hate that scene was cut, because to see those two sisters together, and, it's kind of, it's frustrating that was gone. But it's fun to see in One Breath, where you see her standing over Scully, and she really catches on to the whole Mulder and Scully thing, and so of course she had to go. But yeah, I mean, I just enjoy Melinda McGraw as this character. I mean, I usually enjoy Melinda McGraw's a good actress who I usually enjoy in stuff. Be it The West Wing or NCIS, or, there's loads of other stuff she's been in. But I enjoy her as Melissa, and I feel she really fits in, and especially the dynamic with then Maggie or sorry, I was like, wait, when I talked about Maggie, did I say Maggie Scully or Margaret Scully or whatever? Yeah, you don't really have much with the brothers, because, again, Charlie's imaginary. But you don't really have much with Bill, because I think he really I'm trying to remember, I'm pretty sure he didn't appear until after Melissa was dead. Could be wrong. There's going to be so many comments going, oh my god, you stupid idiot, he was in this episode before she died. But yeah, I really enjoy McGraw's and Anderson's scenes together. Like when she's trying to get Scully to maybe get hypnotized to unrepress her memories of what happened while she's abducted or whatever, after, the chip gets found in her neck. I just really enjoy the chemistry between them. They really feel like sisters. And yeah, I just you don't get her come back even as a ghost or anything. It would have been nice to have her in more scenes, be that visions or flashbacks or whatever. But yeah, I genuinely enjoy her, and the sisterly connection. Especially, if you're going to compare to what it's like to sit through scenes with Bill Scully Jr. as opposed to Melissa, I'd rather listen to Melissa. She does feel one note when every scene that she has, she just feels like it's constant, like, you need to get in touch with your feelings, Dana. If you open yourself up, and you're just like, oh my god, you spouted this last time. So it does feel like they struggled to come up with a script for her at times that was actually different. But I enjoy her. A or B? I'm going to put her in A. I really wish she'd been in more. Just because I did genuinely enjoy her and the family dynamics kind of thing. But yeah, that's that's taken me way longer than I thought it was going to take me. That is my tiering of the X-Files characters. Not all of the characters, just the ones that this person decided were worth putting on the list. I'm glad I moved Smoking Man, because yeah, I do regret putting, especially if you're talking in comparison to, say, Deep Throat. I mean, let's be honest, he is this show. So I'm glad I changed my mind. But yeah, I mean, as I said, all of the characters on this show are amazing and well cast. I don't think there's any real issues. But some of these, I don't get the point of putting on a tiering list like this, and I feel that like there's so many missed opportunities. But yeah, I'm pretty sure some were added from when I saw it in September originally, because there's a lot more here than I'm pretty sure were on there originally. I'm pretty sure it was like basically like the women that make Scully jealous, and then a couple of extra people. um, but yeah, that's this character list's tiering. I would love to have done it with other characters, and maybe if I made my own tiering list, I would easily add Doggett, Reyes, Gibson Praise, Bill Scully Jr. There are so many other people. I mean, even the Kirk Crawfords are more. Alien Bounty Hunter. Where is Alien Bounty Hunter? He would easily be on here. I would probably only put him in A, I think, Alien Bounty Hunter, just because he's very one note, but again, he's important, and I think the use of him is usually pretty good. But yeah, people like that. There's so many good characters, but I guess, I don't know, maybe there's a limit on how, I don't know how these tier lists, when they get the templates, if there's a limit on how many people you can, how many options you can put on. But yeah, that's that's this list. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Okay, here's the situation with the season 4 tiering list. So, last year, as I said, I went looking for the tier template and that, and I recorded me talking about the first half of season 4 for 2.5 hours. I then copied the files over to my computer, started editing, only to discover that the top of my head was missing. So I straight away re-recorded the whole thing for the next 2.5 hours. By which point my throat was sore, I was tired, I was exhausted, it was insane. I then copied that over to the computer, only to discover that there were issues. I don't know what happened. My audio, my microphone feed was gone. So it was okay to go off. I mean, so I edited the video anyway. Also, I noticed while editing, I had the VHS set behind me, except it wasn't the season 4 VHS set. It was the season 5 VHS set. But while I edited, and then I uploaded the video onto YouTube, which is what I usually do. I usually upload, private it, and then watch the video back to check for any issues. And not only was the video finished like over 2 hours, which is going to be what the case is with this probably, but bear in mind, I've literally talked about 26 characters here, so give me some slack. Yeah, it took me over 2 hours to talk about 12 episodes. And I was watching it back, and I wasn't particularly happy with the pacing for like the first 6 episodes or so. I felt like I spent a lot of time talking about Home and Herrenvolk and a couple of the others. So I wasn't the happiest with the pacing. But I was like, I don't know, I feel like I've been as thorough as I can. So the video has been sat on my channel since the start of December, I think. And waiting for me to record the second half. But I have been so torn about whether to either re-record the first half, and I'm like, but I'm now 6 months away from when I first watched, since I re-watched the series, and since I recorded my initial thoughts. I don't want to miss out a lot of things. as it is in the 2 re-records, my tier list was so different. It was bizarre. Not so different. There were a couple of very obvious differences. Just because my thoughts, as I thought more about the episodes, I was like, actually, now I feel kind of like my CSM situation on this one. So yeah, but the video's been sat on, and I'm debating whether to. One, I've been struggling to get in the mood to sit and re-record, to record the second half, let alone re-record the first half. But yeah, I'm torn at the moment whether to just go ahead with the first half as it is, just leave it. I think I might have to rewatch it and consider it, and just see how it feels again. I got to about the hour and a half mark, and I was into it a lot more. Like, after the hour mark, sorry. The first hour I felt dragged, and then the second half I was a lot happier with. But yeah, I don't know. I need to think about it. It's done. The second half isn't done. But I will be recording that soon, and I really need to put my foot down, get in gear, and consider what I'm going to do with this first half, whether leave it or re-record. I mean, like I say, it's all edited, all of the effects, transitions, clips being shown and stuff like that. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It will be coming soon, guys, I promise. But thank you so much for tuning in and sitting through this bizarre video. This bizarre exploration of some of the characters. It was difficult to know what to say sometimes, so I get that it was quite repetitive, as usual. Me waffling on. Again, if I'd done this as a proper analysis video, I would have scripted it, but this is just me off the top of my head, and as I said, brain damage, bad language skills, really struggling. But yeah, no, thanks so much for watching, guys. Please share your thoughts. Who is your favourite character? Who is your character that you really enjoy that doesn't get the love that they deserve? I mean, there are a good number of characters I genuinely, like, say, Manicured Man or stuff like that. I feel like they get overlooked a lot. But yeah, please share your thoughts, and please take care, and I'll see you somewhere down the line. Take care.